The small village of Ashwood lay nestled in the heart of a lush valley. It was a place where time stood still, where the air was sweet with the scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of gentle streams provided a soothing background hum. The villagers lived simple lives, working the land, tending to their animals, and living off the earth's bounty. In the center of the village stood an ancient tree, its gnarled branches twisted with age. The villagers believed this tree held the secret to happiness, and many would sit in its shade, seeking solace and guidance. One such villager was a young man named Kaito. He had always felt like he didn't quite fit in, like he was meant for something more. Kaito would often find himself comparing his life to those around him. Why didn't he have a farm as prosperous as Jiro's? Why couldn't he build a home as grand as Akane's? These comparisons would leave him feeling bitter and dissatisfied. He began to wonder if he was the only one who felt this way. One day, while sitting under the ancient tree, Kaito met a wise old man named Hiro. Hiro had lived in the village all his life and had spent many years studying the ancient tree and its secrets. Kaito shared his feelings of discontent with Hiro, who listened attentively. Hiro smiled and began to tell a story. When I was a young man, I too felt like I wasn't good enough. I compared myself to others and felt like I came up short. But one day I realized that I was looking at the world through a narrow lens. I was focusing on what others had that I didn't, rather than appreciating what I had. Hiro continued, I started to focus on the beauty of the world around me. I noticed the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves of the ancient tree, the sound of the stream babbling in the distance, and the smell of the freshly baked bread wafting from the bakery. I began to appreciate the small things in life. Kaito listened intently, and as he did, he started to feel a shift in his perspective. He realized that he had been so focused on what others had that he had neglected to appreciate his own blessings. He thought about the beautiful sunrises he witnessed every morning, the delicious meals his mother cooked, and the warm conversations he had with his friends. As the days passed, Kaito made a conscious effort to stop comparing himself to others. He started to focus on his own journey, his own growth, and his own happiness. He spent more time under the ancient tree, listening to Hiro's stories and learning from his wisdom. The villagers began to notice a change in Kaito. He seemed more at peace, more content. They would see him smiling as he worked in the fields, and his laughter would echo through the village. Kaito's relationships with others improved, and he found that he was able to connect with people on a deeper level. One day, a severe storm hit the village, causing widespread destruction. Many homes were damaged and crops were destroyed. The villagers were devastated. Kaito, however, felt a sense of calm wash over him. He realized that the storm was a reminder that life is unpredictable, and that comparisons are futile. Kaito spent the next few days helping his neighbors rebuild and recover. He worked tirelessly, using his skills to assist those in need. As he did, he felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. The villagers began to look up to Kaito as a leader, and he became known for his kindness and generosity. He continued to sit under the ancient tree, listening to Hiro's stories and learning from his wisdom. Kaito's happiness grew, not because he had achieved some grand goal, but because he had learned to appreciate the beauty in the world around him. Years passed and Kaito became a pillar of the village. He continued to work hard, but he did so with a sense of joy and purpose. The villagers would often sit with him under the ancient tree, listening to his stories and learning from his experiences. One day, a young girl named Emiko approached Kaito. She was struggling with feelings of inadequacy and comparison. Kaito smiled and shared his story with her. He told her about the ancient tree, about Hiro's wisdom, and about the storm that had changed his perspective. Emiko listened intently, and as she did, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. She realized that she didn't have to compare herself to others, that she could focus on her own journey and find happiness in the process. Kaito smiled, knowing that he had passed on the wisdom he had received. The story of Kaito and the ancient tree spread throughout the land. People would come from far and wide to sit in the shade of the tree, to listen to Kaito's stories and to learn from his experiences. And as they did, they too would find the secret to happiness, a secret that had been hidden in plain sight all along. The villagers would often say that the ancient tree was magical, that it had the power to heal broken hearts and minds. But Kaito knew that the real magic lay within themselves, in their ability to choose how they saw the world, and how they chose to live their lives. As the years went by, the village of Ashwood continued to thrive. The villagers lived in harmony with nature, and they found joy in the simple things. They would gather under the ancient tree, sharing stories and laughter, and the tree would stand tall, a symbol of the power of perspective and the secret to happiness. Kaito's story became a legend, a reminder to people of the importance of living in the present, of appreciating what they had, and of finding happiness in the journey. And as people heard his story, they would nod in recognition, knowing that they too had the power to choose how they saw the world and how they lived their lives. The ancient tree continued to stand, a testament to the wisdom of the villagers. It reminded them to appreciate the beauty around them, to focus on their own journey, and to find happiness in the simple things. And as the wind rustled through its leaves, the villagers would smile, knowing that they had found the secret to happiness, and that it was hidden in plain sight all along. Kaito's journey was not without its challenges. There were times when he felt like giving up, when the comparisons seemed too much to bear. But he persevered, knowing that he had the power to choose how he saw the world. He continued to sit under the ancient tree, listening to Hiro's stories and learning from his wisdom. The villagers would often ask Kaito about his secrets, about how he had found such happiness and contentment. Kaito would smile and say that it was simple, that he had just learned to appreciate what he had and to focus on his own journey. He would tell them about the ancient tree and the wisdom of Hiro and the storm that had changed his perspective. And as the villagers listened to Kaito's story, they would feel a sense of peace wash over them. They would realize that they too had the power to choose how they saw the world and how they lived their lives. They would nod in recognition, knowing that the secret to happiness was hidden in plain sight, and that it was up to them to find it. The story of Kaito and the ancient tree would continue to spread, a reminder to people of the power of perspective and the importance of living in the present. And as people heard the story, they would smile, knowing that they too had the power to choose how they saw the world and how they lived their lives.